Episodes were Bungie's solution to the monotony of seasons so many Destiny 2 players had been feeling for over 2 years at that point. The promise was singular stories that stand on their own and offer something seasonal content just can't do. Promising new activities that we've never done before, going for new concepts they've never explored, and new ideas like potion crafting, revamped Nessus, new secrets on the Dreadnought, and much more. It was supposed to be a shakeup with new surprises to the Destiny formula in a way that players would enjoy. So how well did they execute that? Well, I think it's time to do a retrospective on Bungie's filler arc, Episodes. So here's the structure. Episodes are split into 3 acts, with each including some amount of story, gameplay, and gear content. We have a battle pass that begins with the initial 100 tiers, with an additional 50 tiers per act. How the story and gameplay content are structured changes from episode to episode, of which I'll be going over here. Episode Echoes is our first episode, and it begins with the death of Muhammad. His death shot out Qurans across the galaxy, and the first one landed on Nessus, where the story takes place. No, they're not actually called Qurans, I'm lying to you. God doesn't exist in this world unless you pre-order the deluxe edition. They're called Echoes, and they usually transform and change the world in some way. The first one that lands on Nessus is making stuff all weird and fucked up, so we have to go and investigate. We have a mission-saving failsafe, a character who hasn't been a part of any Destiny content for 7 years, and we also find out that something called the Conductor, the new leader of the Vex, is our big bad. What the Conductor's motivations are, who even is the Conductor, well, that remains a mystery. Wonderful! There's this other side thing with Saint 14 where the Conductor manipulates him and tells him that he's not the original copy, he's just a copy of a copy, which I'm surprised he's having a crisis about now. He's been back for 4 years and you're telling me that now he's starting to think about this? I mean, hell, he's an Exo whose name has a 14 on it, representative of every time his memory has been wiped. This seems like something he would have worked out a long time ago. I guess he could have just buried those thoughts, but that's not really explored at all. It's just not very well developed or built up at all. I would have preferred if this was something we saw glimpses of over time. It slowly eats away at him more and more until it reaches a boiling point, but this just isn't done at all. It felt like something ripped straight from Persona 4. The big bad tells him that something he doesn't want to hear and he needs to face himself in order to be his true self. The only way to top this off is if we fought a giant Saint 14. So it's pretty gay, but it's not as gay as it could have been. We'll get into the gays later. Besides that, we have nothing really new in regards to story. It's pretty light on it, which I'm fine with since we just killed Megamind not a week prior. So how's the gameplay department? It's fine. So Nessus is transformed, but only when playing the episode Echoes activities. No, really, go to Nessus and look at the exact same places some of these activities take place in. The patrol area stays the same, but it's different in the activities, and in my opinion, this is a huge mistake. When Bungie said Nessus was transformed, I was expecting more than some minor changes that are only likely to be staying until the new expansion drops. Like maybe some reworked lost sectors, maybe some refurbished loot and a vendor reputation system like we get on most of the other planets, maybe some reworked public events. But nah, I guess it's the whole part of don't over-deliver thing. Anyway, stale velvet cake aside, we have the Breach executables, otherwise known as shooting a bunch of shit until the game tells you to do it somewhere else. Now I know a lot of dads who just got off work at the wife-beating factory probably enjoy this activity as much as their battered family does, but I tend to have a bit more of an acquired taste. I don't particularly enjoy just mindlessly running around and killing enemies for a while. We have so many other activities in the game I can already do that in, so I fail to understand why shooting gallery number 29 improves the game even a little bit. Now, something I almost forgot about mentioning is that there are minor additions to the open world, including optional content in the form of the Enigma Protocol, an activity using recycled content from Season of the Splicer to give us a timed activity. Not timed as in like available for a limited time. I mean like there is literally a timer at the top of your screen that gives you the amount of time you have to complete the mission. This is actually a decent amount of fun and something with an actual fail state. Like I appreciate that, and although I don't really play it as much as I played Breach executables, it's not only unimportant to the story, but it's also very easy to miss unless you've heard about it or decided to delve into Nessus. Which is pretty disappointing because this mode is a lot of fun and I feel like more people should be playing it. Because this is Destiny, we also have gear, and the gear here is honestly not that bad. The hand cannon is a 180, but it feels good to shoot, and if you have a problem with that, you can wake up to my balls slapping against your chin at a circadian rhythm you're just not ready for. How about that? The grenade launcher is unique as it's the first area of denial grenade launcher in the game. You shoot a series of volleys on the ground and a pool appears that continuously damages enemies for a short duration. This is the most interesting gun we have here though. We have a Winchester scout rifle that reminds me of a Ferrari for some reason, an auto rifle that can't help cover my screen with the stupid scope that thinks it's a cock, and a sword and grenade launcher combo that I don't really care for at all. The armor actually looks kinda cool. The hunters have by far the best armor with this almost techno ninja look, but the huge standout here is the battle pass armor. Now that's an armor set. I want to preface this by saying I actually like the Root of Nightmares armor. Eat shit if you don't like it. I'm right, you know I'm right, and my brass balls hurt a lot more than your dad's abuse, so watch yourself, buddy. But unfortunately, I do have to agree with you that the Root of Nightmares armor is inferior to the battle pass armor, and if it replaced it, I wouldn't complain. Sorry about the welts on your face, it'll buffer out. We also get the exotic battle pass weapon, Red Death Reformed. It's the pulse rifle from Destiny 1 that upon killing an opponent will heal you as well as other players around you and increase reload speed. It's a part of Bungie's push for weapons to play more of a support role within the game. While the healing isn't insane, it allows players to go into a light support role that sacrifices an exotic weapon slot and some overall damage while still being able to heal teammates and still deal some amount of damage. What more can I say? It's a fun weapon and I enjoy using it. Overall, Act 1 was okay. It has a bad story, one bad activity, and one good one that unfortunately is optional and one I almost completely missed and forgot, and some pretty good gear. Act 2 is a bit better. The episode begins by requiring us to do some of the new activity that'll get more in-depth in soon. In this mission, we're putting nanomachines in the radiolarite. Radiolarite? I don't fucking know. To follow it and find where it's going, hopefully to find the conductor. After doing some more of the new activity, Battlegrounds, we find that we end up running into a dead end, so we have to do research. So much fucking research. It is endless. Guardian, research the Vex, research Nessus, research the alien fruit. We need to learn more about the conductor, so research that fucking plant. We need more of that research. So after all that, this is where the cutscene that I showed earlier talking about Saint 14 is shown. Saint has his Persona 4 moment, takes his memories, and just as quickly as this whole subplot is brought up, it's resolved. Saint's memories lead us to this pool deep within Nessus where we finally get to meet the conductor. And who would have known? It's Maya Sundaresh. Who the fuck is Maya Sundaresh? Wait, you don't know who Maya Sundaresh is? What do you mean? You sat there and listened to the endless radio transmissions, right? Come on. You're telling me that you didn't sit there and wasted hours of your time listening to worthless dog shit given to you in the worst way possible like the rest of us? Well, spoiler alert, I didn't either. So I knew this character as the Robo-Trump illegal alien racist from the season of The Splicer, otherwise known as the leader of the future war cult, otherwise known as Lakshmi. So surprise, surprise, I don't really care about this villain, at least not in the pretense that Maya is the character that I'm supposed to know from this dogshit content that I didn't even interact with. So basically, Maya was one of the people from the ship that crashed into Neptune and discovered the Veil. She also assisted in building the city of Neomuna and became obsessed with the Veil. Going along with Pride Month, we have yet another gay character since Maya has a wife. Anyway, Maya became obsessed with the Veil and stopped giving a shit about her wife and instead created a machine that she strapped herself into to try and communicate with the Veil called the Conductor, which ended up getting her killed. Well, as per usual Destiny 2, Maya isn't fucking dead. She actually lived. And now she's this conductor character. She wants to control the Vex and use Radiolaria to bring about a second golden age, which I will admit is a cool idea for a villain. It's about time Bungie introduces a villain that's all, I'm not your enemy, I'm here to help type shit. The conductor is very much a follow my future ideologies or I'll eternally rape you, which I do enjoy. But this is also the end of Act 2's story. Wait, what? Yeah, when you look at a 3-act structure for how narratives are supposed to go, and then you look at the story of episode Echoes, we should be either at the end of Act 1 or at the very longest at the beginning of Act 2, not at the end of Act 2. So now the 3rd act has to support the weight of 2 acts at the fucking end, which is great, but we'll get there when we get to it. The new activity is Battlegrounds, which, sure, there are more Battlegrounds. A true evolution of the Destiny seasonal calendar. Sure, the Battlegrounds are nothing new, but they're admittedly very fun. The enemy density is high, we get to pick up this alien fruit, and small mechanics we do to break up the constant shooting you'll be doing. Too bad half the time my teammates are fucking retarded. We have 3 battlegrounds, each that progresses further into the depths of Nessus, and this is where we see an actual change in environment that I wish was in the open world. Despite Nessus being an area we've seen since vanilla, it's a refresh that actually looks pretty damn good and a great change of scenery from what we've been getting recently. Nessus was visually one of my favorite areas from the vanilla game, and this refresh really does boost it for me. So good job, Bungie. Here's a little plastic trophy I got from Dollarama. Put it on the mantle, it'll look good up there. Gathering the alien fruit can also go towards getting more loot at the end of the battleground, which is a nice addition. Battlegrounds as a whole are yet another shoot a bunch of enemies activity for the husbands who use their wives as boxing practice. While I don't personally participate in those kind of hobbies, I still enjoyed the battlegrounds for what they were. For gear, we have Perfect Paradox, my favorite shotgun until I met my new bitch, the Ikelos shotgun, of which Perfect Paradox was dropped down to side hoe, where it honestly still remains. A pulse rifle no one cares about, and a new rocket sidearm that fucks like Genghis Khan. It's pretty obvious to tell that these weapons are remakes, or if you're less charitable, reskins. And the weird thing on this sidearm opens up, which looks entirely pointless. Which is funny, because when it was revealed, it was hyped up quite a bit by the Bungie team. Maybe it looks cool to some of you, but I always thought it just looked kinda stupid.
It's not too late to accept.
So now we have Act 3. As discussed previously, Bungie has to make up 2 acts in the final act of this story. So how does Bungie deliver? Not very well. So Maya is looking for the perfect version of her wife who will put up with her shit. So by using CIA torture methods, she brings the lesbian abuse statistics up and asks a series of questions to her wife who's in an exo body. If she doesn't like the answer, she shuts her down and resets her. Basically, Maya doesn't want to make a new golden age for the sake of humanity. She wants to make a new golden age for herself. What a selfish little bitch. So we have to do the exact same exotic mission over and over in order to continue the story. You see, Bungie has this thing with Destiny that I like to call the Seasonal Destiny Syndrome, or SDS for short. Stuff like repeating the same mission over and over, or going from dialogue to activity to side mission to dialogue to radio message to dialogue. It's fucking awful. It's something that Bungie has somewhat solved with the later episodes like Heresy, but man, it is such a problem, and I really hope it doesn't continue to be one, because it is the least interesting way of telling a story. No one wants to do the same content over and over, walk over to someone and have them talk at you. That's not interesting. That's not how you deliver a story. But anyway, after doing the same exotic mission several fucking times, we find out that Maya ran out of versions and can't find the perfect version of her wife. So her entire plan is crumbling and falling apart because of her. We didn't have to do anything. So now that she's vulnerable due to her own fuck up, we get to jump in and take her down. So we approach her, we all get force held down, but somehow Saint 14 breaks free. How he does, I don't really understand, and as far as I know, it doesn't really make any sense. But he throws his shield at her, Ikora uses a Nova Bomb, and Maya sinks into the Vex Cum. And that's the story. Overall, Echoes had a pretty awful story, presentation, and structure. The ideas are interesting. I kinda like how the villain isn't just some asshole who wants to blow up the world. The Witness was just another shade of I'm gonna blow up the entire world, but doing it a little bit differently than everyone else. Maya, on the other hand, is an actual I will fix everything villain trope. I kinda wish we had a full campaign to be convinced by this character. Maybe even seeing some of Nessus being transformed into this horror scene is an example of Maya's perfect world. Or even maybe the opposite. Maybe instead the world is actually really, really nice on the surface. Kinda go for that whole idea where things are really nice on the surface, and from a distance everything looks really good, but once you start to dig deeper, you realize how fucked up and terrible this version of her world actually is. Maybe even have some of the characters refuse to see how bad it really is and kind of accept Maya's position on everything. Kinda similar to all the stuff that's done with Maruki in Persona 5 Royal, for the 3 people who have played the game and are watching this video. But overall, if you noticed, we didn't really do anything overall. Like, we didn't really stop Maya. The entire time we were mainly just trying to figure out what the fuck was going on and who Maya was. Once we finally figured out who Maya was, all we really did was, like, stop her at the very end. Like, she kind of fucked everything up on her own. We didn't really have any involvement in taking her down. Like, we didn't really do anything. While as far as I know, this was supposed to be a setup for her character later on, I really hope we don't see Maya ever again. They tried it didn't work, and I don't really care much for her story beyond this. And honestly, I wish I could have enjoyed the story, but running from person to place to person to mission to robo-fucknut just isn't the way I want to experience a story. I'd rather play some garbage, gay-ass visual novel. So what about the gameplay? So we have an exotic mission, just like Season of the Seraph. We have to replay this mission over and over and over, because that's fun. I honestly feel like this exotic mission was built like a normal mission so that it could be played as a part of the campaign content. If it was an actual exotic mission, it would be more like the Season of the Chosen One, where the exotic mission is optional, difficult, and has a time limit, and can be repeated if you want better rolls on your exotic. Optional exotic quests and missions are the only way they should go. Making them mandatory campaign content only dilutes them and makes them as unfun as possible. Overall, the mission was boring, the puzzles were boring, the final boss was boring, and the only thing I really liked was some of the visuals. The weapons included in this final act are a machine gun and a trace rifle. The trace rifle is pointless, and the machine gun has fire as fuck perks, but the rate of fire is too high to really benefit from any of them. The new exotic weapon from the exotic mission, Choir of One, is the first special ammo auto rifle. It shoots 5 rounds in a spread pattern when firing from the hip and 1 shot from ADS. It does some pretty good damage and is a lot of fun to use. It's a really versatile weapon that kind of reminds me of the whole crafting gate thing, if anyone remembers that. I also just really enjoy this kind of experimenting with weapons, like a heavy weapon exotic glaive or a special ammo exotic hand cannon. I also really like the design of Choir of One. It gives me this almost polymer Glock type of look and texture to it, while also reminding me of the original Destiny 1 Vex Mythoclast. Overall, I really like this weapon, and I hope we get more cool shit like this in the future. Overall, Episode Echoes was pretty bad, and I found myself finding more things I disliked over things I liked. I wish I liked more than I did, but the story made me so incredibly disinterested and was presented so poorly that I lost my interest by the middle of the second act, and I didn't really finish it until just before the beginning of Episode Heresy. The weapons have a selection of good and bad, with the rocket sidearm being meta as fuck and the grenade launcher being one I'll be keeping for a very long time, while we also have some weapons that I'm gonna forget about by the time the Edge of Fate comes out. And unfortunately, it's like half of them. The activities are largely boring, with the Enigma Protocol being the highlight of the gameplay content, which put a bit of a bad taste in my mouth, especially since the first impression of the episodic content not really being a shakeup of the Destiny content model at all, and just more Destiny, which isn't really what we wanted. There are small hints of cool stuff like getting alien fruit and using it towards getting more loot, but I also feel like it could have been going towards like a sample concept similar to Helldivers 2. Maybe we get some optional upgrades or like kill streaks that we could use in the middle of missions. Maybe by using a certain amount of samples, we could summon stuff like turrets or have a little walker follow us around and shoot enemies. Something that could make the gameplay even the least bit interesting. If I had to rate Episode Echoes out of 10, I'd probably give it a 4. Bad story with some good ideas, bad activities besides one really good one, and another being Battlegrounds that's unoriginal but still fun, a mixed bag of gear, good exotics, and a lack of innovation is what led me to my conclusion. Next up is Episode Revenant, and if my last video is anything to go off of, I'm not going to be very happy with this one.
Now, come.